Good morning, good afternoon, good evening around the world. So, my name is Kuge. Today, I'm with a special guest who is going to be updating us about the multi ethnic rally in DC. Could you please introduce yourself?
Yes, good morning, Kuge. My name is M2 Ong. I live in Maryland, USA. I'm Kachin. I'm also kind of the board of advisory of Kachin Lion, an executive committee member and general secretary of the Nationalities Lion of Burma, United States of America, otherwise known as NAB USA. NAB USA include like the Kachin Lion, which represent Kachin, and also is also include the Karenni American Association (KNA), International Karen Organization, Chin Freedom Coalition, Mon America, Arakan American Community, and then the last one is the California Shan Social and Cultural Society. So, which is kind of the coalition of 200,000 people concerned Myanmar ethnic American of the Myanmar diaspora striving to address equal right and self-determination and humanitarian disaster transferring in Myanmar. So NAB USA is currently coordinating international action to support further democracy in Myanmar. So our ethnic religious leader organized and planned this huge protest event, which will be one of the historic and biggest protest event in the USA.
Thank you for sharing. So I want to clarify that we will be speaking English, as this is the English versions of the informations at the rally. Um, so how do you get involved in the multi-ethnic rally team as a media person?
Okay, yes, like I mentioned earlier before, so our ethnic religious leaders organize and plan this huge protest event, which will be one of the historic and the biggest protest event in the United States. So we are protesting to against the military coups in Myanmar. Today, the media is one of the most effective platforms to educate the people. So what's happened in Myanmar? So we have a planning team, and I'm one of the planning team member. And the people elected me and the another current lady, Miss Clara from the Minnesota, as a main media contact person for this matter ethnic protest event.
Thank you. So as you introduce your role in and how you're part of the committee, how can the people, as I myself, being there or not, how can we support you? Sorry, Mr. M2, you're muted.
Okay, so as a ethnic person, and I'm kind of the general secretary of the Nationality Alliance of Burma USA, otherwise called the NAB USA. So I'm taking the responsibility of coordination and facilitating our ethnic people to be involved as much as possible to show our concern about our native land. Myanmar. So each and every nation has different vision, mission, goals, and objectives. So it's really challenging for us to facilitate, to move forward everything, everyone at the same time. But we have to patient until we accomplish our vision. And so we'll never give up easily, but we're working hard to have, the we are working hard with our passion to accomplish these protests successful.
Thank you for sharing. So the next question is, what is the truth behind the protest rally at Washington, D.C.?
Okay, so I would say it's a kind of the Myanmar has faced various ethnic conflict since shortly after its independence in 1948. So at the time, five different peace efforts have failed, leaving Myanmar in what constitutes the world's longest running civil war. But since the country's November 8th election, there has been a flurry of meeting between ethnic armed organizations and the military, known as the Tamador. So these unexpected talks are the first sign of progress toward a resolution of the seemingly intelligible war. So that is, if the sides can learn from the past and create a fresh, inclusive, the renewal of peace process that draw the country a diverse voice fighting for peace. So previously, peace process have failed to consider the diverse vision of peace among the numerous ethnic community across Myanmar. So choosing instead to rely on the visions of elite and armed actor. And another thing, so Myanmar is the while in a political humanitarian crisis. So finally, on February 1st, 2021, the military of Myanmar staged a coup in the retaliation against the 2020 general election, in which the NLD amassed nearly 60% of the people votes. So the Tamador wrongfully detained leaders of the ruling NLD party, including Aung San Suu Kyi and the president U Win Myint. So this was immediately followed by the Tamador censoring the press, shutting down the internet, closing banks, and the cutting off global communications, and announcing a state of emergency. So currently, innocent people in Myanmar are being subjected to an oppressive rule of the dangerous military detention that undermines the will of the people. So as of April 3rd, peaceful protesters in Myanmar have been met with the coordinated attacks by the Tamador, including arbitrary detention, releasing armed and drug, the prisoners to attack the protester, and then setting neighborhoods ablaze, poisoning water supply, and other acts of terror. So February 28 has been the deadliest day for the country since the beginning of the coup, and then we will also say the March 27, also kind of the deadliest day for the country. And then over the course of 48 hours, a military force brutally murdered 30 civilians and left thousands injured. So healthcare worker and emergency medical vehicle have also been, targeted by the Tamador. So additionally, while these violent crackdown have been occurring, the government hospital have been raided of essential equipment, rendering them incapable of providing adequate emergency care of injured civilians. And then, thousands of innocent people in Myanmar have been left in a state of uncertainty. A reminder of the bloody 1988 uprising, during which a student organized national protests demanding democratic rule were met with the violence and thousands of casualties. So no ethnic minority have been spared from the military detention. And then many people have fled Myanmar and internally displaced, dating further back the conflict between the Karen, Kachin, and all the ethnic people. And the military is the longest internet war in Myanmar, civil war in Myanmar, and the longest civil war in the world, spanning more than 7 decades. Correct? So since 2011, more than 4,000 Karen people, more than 120,000 Kachin, more than 70,000 Arakan have been displaced by the military. And additionally, the current situation in Karen State, more than 10,000 people flee to Thailand. But the Thailand and the Thailand military, the Thailand army, they do not want to accept they do not want to help the people. This is against the law, and things they're supposed to receive the internet displaced person from Burma, people from Burma. So additionally, over there, the Palawa villager in Chin State struggled to survive through an armed conflict in the summer of 2020, as more were increasingly missing, arrested, or killed by the military. So the life of millions of people in Myanmar are at stake. The COVID-19 pandemic has compounded the implication of the ongoing conflict, placing civilians in precarious situations. So people in Myanmar are also grappling with poverty and food insecurity due to the disruption of the economy. So citizens across Myanmar, including children, have taken to the street to protest the wrongful denial of their right to democracy and governmental transparency. So additionally, the civil servants had resigned from their position as they refused to serve under the military. So it is a kind of the background about how and why we are doing this protest event in Washington, D.C., United States of America.
Thank you for sharing the interconnections and the layers of different truth that goes behind the protest and the rally at the Washington D.C. So the following question is: what are the specific issues the protesters are challenging, and in what is happening in Myanmar and also in the ethnic states?
Can you say again? Sorry.
Yes. So, what are the specific issues the protesters are challenging of what is going on in Myanmar and also in the ethnic states?
Oh, okay. So there's so many challenges in Myanmar. Okay, let me put it this way. The Myanmar, among the younger generation of the ethnic minority, they perceive the coups as blended assault on the country transition toward the democracy, and we see on the ongoing crisis as an opportunity to make Myanmar politics. So we strongly disagree with the elite calls to remain the bystander in this crisis. Social media posts, by the ethnic minority participant in the demonstration, which indicate that many youth see only two abnormal outcomes if they remain Christians. Either the coup may win and the Myanmar descend into another period of dictatorship, or the coups may retreat and Myanmar goes back to the status quo. So a political system that was hardly inclusive of ethnic minority. So we are not only speak up against the coup, but also advocate that mainstream pro-democracy movement, including the CRPH, recognize the interests of minority. So we are, that's kind of the, am I covering your question?
Yes, there are those are important issues of why a lot of things are happening. So what are the issues that we're challenging, which is like autonomy, self-determination, and those certain issues that the youth are trying to get across, so that the communities and the international communities are aware of what is happening in Myanmar and also in the ethnic states, including the current states and chains and Kachin. So thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
So what are the demands and recommendations the multi-ethnic community and the community members are trying to demonstrate at the rally?
Yeah, I just mentioned about the why and the youth and the all the ethnic people and all the people protesting this event, and also our plan for the protest is we are planning to demand make a protest over here, and we're trying to the equality advocate for the immediate and unconditionally release all those detained because of the military coup, and then also the immediately restore all forms of the communication including across the internet. So restore. We also trying to demand the restore free travel, return power to all members of the civilian, and then we also demand and allow for the freedom of expression and freedom of movement. And then another one is enable media to report what is transparent in Myanmar. This is another thing. And the other thing is the ending the dictatorship, establishing a further democracy and unconditional release of those unjustly detained. And our democracy is broadly shaping the rhetoric of the mainstream pro-federal democracy movement in Myanmar. Those are our demand to protest in Washington, D.C. as well.
Thank you. So the following question is, who is going to be benefiting from these demonstrations and the rally and the protests?
Yeah. Okay. So now we are putting pressure on the gender, destroying the gender economic empire, and then we also trying to pressure the gender to deny the gender international support, deny the gender ability to run a functioning government, and deny the gender the ability to spread propaganda, and then isolate male online with the within the military, and then strong civilian movement, union among EAO and within the interim government. So Myanmar citizens are going to be benefiting from this demonstration, and then so gender is under a strong pressure. So we should have a strong interim government. Our new constitutional change promoting further democracy, and then humanitarian support need all over the country. So we need the production of refugees, IDP as well, all over the place. Not only the Karen, not only the Kachin, but also the all over the place. Those we have the refugees over there.
Thank you for sharing that. How and who are these going to be benefited is the multi-ethnic groups, and then the individual and the communities who are being oppressed by Tamuta, which is the Burmese military army.
Yeah.
What are the other ways the multi-ethnic communities members do to bring this awareness to President? Well, before I go to that question, how will you encourage the multi-ethnic groups to join the rally?
Okay, so I would like to invite all the ethnic community members to come together and show our concern about Myanmar. So we cannot change our identity, because even if you born in United States of America, you are still Korean. If somebody born in the Canada, you are they are also the Karen and Kachin as well. So we will never become the white people even when you're born in America, or even when you were born in the Canada or wherever it is. So if you can it is very important for us to participate in this special event to show our passion to our people. That's kind of my suggestion and my encouragement.
Thank you for showing that, for explaining that. So our next question is, what are the ways the multi-ethnic communities members do to bring this awareness to President Biden and then the international communities?
Okay, so this is a kind of the another plan that if you cannot make this protest plan in person in Washington D.C., there is another the way that you can participate and contribute. That we have the other way to raise awareness to President Biden and the international community. You can sign on the letter to the President Biden. So it's a very important letter that if we can reach the 50,000 people, 50,000 sign on this paper, so that will be very useful. So we have two options to prepare these, the sign-on letter. So one is the online. So I think your organization will already distribute kind of these petition letter to your email or to your group chat, or so if you cannot, you are not able to sign on this letter to the president, then when you coming to the protest event, then we are prepared. We prepare to distribute the hard copy paper, so that you can, put your name or sign and address and things like that. So that will be different option that you can participate for this sign letter to the President Biden.
Thank you. So if you have any to the audience, if you have any questions, or if you want to comment, please do so. Because we will take some time at the end of our conversation to answer some questions.
Okay.
So thank you for individual who have commented. Thank you. So what is the COVID protocol set for the rally?
For which rally? In the United States rally or the Burmese rally in Myanmar?
It is the rally in Washington, D.C. So what are the COVID protocol?
At the moment, we still have the safety, social distancing that we're supposed to follow. Then we might have we are expecting about 1,000 people coming across the state, but that will be okay. So we stay. We had the previous rally in DC. Last week we have about 500. The women group they gathered and they protested in Washington DC. So we don't need to worry about the COVID-19. The issue in Washington DC. So we stay keeping our social distance. That's fine. They already approved our event.
Yes, thank you. And then also, please wear masks if you're gonna go there. So thank you.
Yes.
Yeah. So let's take some time to answer the questions in the comments. So there is one that we have.
Okay.
So the question is, does CRPH government represent the whole Burma or instead of NLD?
CRPH is, the kind of representing the elected, how would we say, the CRPH is not a government, but is the representing the Pidongsu Ludo. So that's not only the NLD. What they are trying to present is about they are trying to the transform after the military coup. So it's a kind of the changing something, but we are not 100% sure about the CRPH, but they're trying to negotiate with our ethnic people, including Karen, Kachin, and Chimoy, Yakai, things like that. So we are trying to figure out as well. So like I mentioned you before, well, we cannot confident about 100%.
Yes, thank you. So I think this question is relevant to all of us within the United States or even around the globe. So so we have a question from Sakusi. Not Sakusina. So we're working with youth under the age of 18. Their family members are among the refugees who are fleeing from the attacks of Myanmar military forces. How can we talk to these kids about the current situation and not to affect their education and academic process?
Yes, there's so many young people like under age of 18. Their family they're fleeing to the the Karen state or other the Kachin state and under the umbrella of the KNU or the KIA, things like that. So that's because of the military force and military coup. So we have to taking care of these kids. Some of the kids keep asking me, so can I, get the training of the, to attack back the military coups. So I said, so you are under the 18, under age of 18, so you are not allowed to get trained, the military training, army training, things like that. But you after 18 you can be able to the enforce in the KNU or whatever you like to do. So at the moment they still need to be with their family. So there are many kids are dying that we see every day, right? Some people like 1-year-old kids and 13-year-old, 10 years old, they already die. So they are not involved in the protests. Some kids they will stay in the house, but they are killed by the military coups. So when they are other kids, those who are running into the KNU area or KIA area, or
M2,
yes,
sorry to interrupt. Yeah,
yeah,
so I want to clarify the questions a little bit. So, so these questions about there are youth who Nasakashi is working, which is are under 18 years old, and that they have family members uh who are among the refugees who are fleeing from the attacks of Myanmar military forces. So they have a family member back home who are fleeing. So how can we talk to these kids about the current situation and not to affect their education and academic progress? So to reword it, how can we support children's students who are seeing these situations and who have the family member back home fleeing? So how can we support them?
yes,
What are ways can we support them?
yes. That's what I'm trying to explain about them. Yeah. So the education is very important for the kids under 18, but at the moment we have to to convince them in the current situation, because the kids, they already knew what is happening. And so what my opinion and how I like to highlight about the kid is that they have to they trying to learn what is the how the military coup is the fighting and the attacking all the protesters. That's, we have to educate them the reality. We cannot hide, that we cannot cover the real situation. That's about my suggestion to the under age of 18. We cannot hide the real situation.
Yes, thank you for pointing out the aspect of education. I think currently the most important thing is to provide a space for the youth under 18s and also even the young adults. I think giving space for conversation to happen is also important in education, like educating them that hey, this is happening internationally, and then all of the oppressions are and genocides are happening in Myanmar. So I
Yeah.
think education is a huge, uh, and again, I want to emphasize on the brave space, like provide a brave space for youth and young adults, so that they can share about their feelings. I felt like I think in our Asian communities, ethnic communities, we don't really how I said, there's not a lot of space where we can actually share how we felt, how we feel, how can we do, or like how to process everything that's happening. So giving space is very important, and again, educating, and then pay more attention to the individual who have families who are fleeing, because we never know what is happening inside their mind or even their individual life. So I hope that there will be a space
Yeah.
that can be provided where
Correct.
education can happen, and then understanding can happen and healing can happen. So thank you for your comments. So that is only the comments that I've been receiving on my end.
Okay.
So if there's anything else would you like to mention before we end?
Yes, I would like to mention a couple of things. Just give me about 1 to 2 minutes. So, the one democracy prevail in Myanmar, it will help being because of the sacrifice of Myanmar ordinary citizens. 2 months and 3 days since the coups, over 2,000 Myanmar people have been arrested, hundreds injured, and over 500 murdered by the coup makers. So these fallen lives include Burma, Chinese, Muslim, and Tayanda like Kachingyag in Chimoya Kansha, so who are collectively mounted by Myanmar people across ethnic and religious cleavage. So March 3rd, 14 and March 27 were the bloodiest days since the day when the coup was staged. But ordinary citizen definitely vote more protests. So, however, Myanmar allies have thus far stood by with a few offering empty words of condolence and prayers for peace as the country turns into the bloody battleground. So, according to Myanmar history, ethnic identities have been a foremost relying point and a key determinant of individuals' social and political outlook. So ordinary ethnic minorities stood in rank behind their elites and political leaders, believing that their fate and welfare were linked to that of their co-ethnics. So this in-group ethnic solidarity was further exacerbated by the discrimination and exclusionary practice of the state and its officials. But in the outcome of the coup, new forms of solidarity have emerged across entrenched ethnic divisions. So ordinary people of Myanmar are joining hands to defend their interests against the generals and their associates. These new forms of solidarity have encouraged the ordinary people to realize the enormous social power by will. So this realization will only praise through post-crisis Myanmar and shape the country's politics for years to come. Then the emergence of cross-cutting solidarity does not mean that ethnic identities are no longer relevant in Myanmar politics. More accurately, so it's underscored the multifaceted nature of people's social and the political identities. So political behavior of an ethnic minority person are not determined by their minority experience only, but rather by the merit of identities they hold. So ethnic identity might be the dominant factor for politics in some circumstances, but a class or another identity might matter more at other times. So in the ongoing crisis, people identity as elites or ordinary citizen rather than their ethnic identity. So is the primary determination of their reaction on the coup. So ordinary citizens are going to are doing every they can to fracture the generous grip on their country. So I am confident that the emerging cross-cutting solidarity will serve as the foundation for a new Myanmar country. So Myanmar that is more inclusive and more equal than it has ever been. So I'm saying spring has finally arrived after a long winter to hear the blooming of cherry blossom despite continued social distancing measure. So please come and join with us in the in-person protest. This is not virtual protest even on April 10, 2021. I'll see you all in Washington, D.C. Thank you very much.
Yes, there's another question before we end.
Okay.
So, What do you want to tell people who lost their sons and daughter in Myanmar during the protest, the peaceful protest?
I will say very sorry about those who lost their life in the in the protest event. So as for the parents, we are very sorry, very sorry to say that it couldn't be been done in the previous year. So, but they are hero. They are hero for our life. They are hero for our country. That I would like to say to the parents, those who lost their sons and daughter.
Thank you for sharing that. It is also my deepest consultants to the families who had lost their loved one. And I want to say that their lost lives will not go in vain. There are us who are remaining are will try our hardest to promote and also to protest and to continue to fight for peace and democracy. Um, so yeah, and just a reminder for all of our audience and who are going to watch this video later. So the protest is on April 10th. So the flyer that we attached, so there are those informations, but the updated informations will be followed through. So thank you for your time and thank you for listening to us, and thank you, Mr. Tu, for joining us this morning.
Thank you.